California, 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 California. How you doing today? It's gonna be one of those special days, I must say,
Okay.
and I'm gonna have some special guests on tonight. And I can tell you right now that it's gonna be Sarah Armstrong, and it's gonna be Callie from Colorado, Kindness of Colorado. And you're gonna love this show. It's based on so many different events that have been happening over the past 6 months. And we're gonna talk about so many different areas and bring you up to date. And I'm gonna have my girl Shirley on today. So it's an American for Safe Access discussion today about a SB 67 that this been passed through legislation. And we're gonna try to bring you up to date on what's going on and how to combat it. So this right here got to be done so everybody would not be lost when they come off this cover. So again, I'm gonna have my girl on today, Miss Cheryl Branch, the
What's up?
supervisor.
What's up?
Oh, she's
What's
here
up?
already.
How you doing? I'm here. African Americans and the cannabis industry. It's looking really good for us. Black and green, black and green, black and green.
Black and green.
I'm black and green.
Hey, I told you she's back. She been rested. She ready to get at it. And she gonna bring a crew on today. They gonna talk over my head. I'm gonna try to catch back up because I've been away from the cannabis world. I've been in the production world for the last couple of months trying to get a couple of documentaries out. And we really working on this ex-offender active network that's gonna be real great for everybody. It's about reentry. And it's gonna bring you guys to a point where you're gonna say, being away for so long have taught us to work real hard. And reentry people, we work so hard. Look at myself. I work so hard. I done put a production company up. I done put a couple stores up and a tattoo center up and a whole lot of other different things. And I'm getting guided by Miss Cheryl Branch herself. And she giving me so many tips and opening so many different doors that I'm walking into now. And, I'm just blessed to be in her company. So let's Miss Branch do a little talking today because I'm tired of talking this week.
Well, no, Whitey, we thank you so much. If you're tuned in today we have a great program for you. We, too, have been making our way through this COVID-19. So these are recordings live in the COVID-19 era in Los Angeles. But we have some great guests. We've been able to adapt pretty quickly and keep things going. So let us know if you need help with your business or your manufacturing, your cultivation, if you need help getting your documents together, if you need help getting access to the Capitol, because that's the name of the game these days. You got to be ready. So you want to have your funding ready, your credit reports ready, your documents ready, your business plan ready so that you can be in position to receive money. This is probably going to be one of the largest transfers of wealth in the American history over the next 6 months and what has already happened between March up until now. So then for us, what that means, what that translates into for us is don't get caught on the yellow school bus at the end, okay? Don't get caught. Be very mindful that it's about readiness. And Green Believers, we can help you with that. Green Believers. Look us up. It's info@thegreenbelievers.com, info@thegreenbelievers.com, or visit our website, or you can call us 323-238-0446. And tune in every week. Tell a friend. Hit us on the site if you want our Instagram and let us know that you're paying attention. And every week we try to come and bring you information that can help you grow your cannabis business, everything that you need to know. Now, we have two awesome guests today. We're going to talk about, like Whitey said, SB 67. And SB 67 talks about this is about packaging and labeling. So if you get a package or label, certain types of packaging and labeling are going to, really boost your marketing and sales. And we hear that there's some proposals in the state that are not so much in our favor. And one of our guests are going to talk to us about that. That's Sarah. And this is a part of our new segment that we'll do every week. We'll do like 15 on 15, the Canna 15, and this will help us to bring the cannabis advocacy front and center with business, industry, and the affiliate services, so that we can keep our eye on the policy issues that we need to fight against. So that's going to be great. We'll have Sarah Armstrong for Americans for Safe Access. She'll be calling in the second half of the hour. And right now, in just a few minutes, Whitey, I'm going to transition and bring the ladies on. But we have a group of ladies from Colorado, Kelly Perez, and she is the founder and CEO for Kind Colorado. And Kind is like Kind, Kind, being kind, kindcolorado.org. That's Kelly Perez and Courtney Mathis. And these two ladies are doing some really exciting things in Colorado. And we all know what would we have done without Colorado. They were the first. So they've got this process down, and we want to hear about what they're up to. Recently, they started a Cannabis Impact Fund. So they've gone from Kind Colorado to Cannabis Doing Good. And now they've got this Cannabis Impact Fund, and they're reaching out to us all the way in Los Angeles to try to take a little movement, kick the ball down the road, and help us with our cannabis businesses here in Los Angeles. So excited to bring both of these on, and we'll touch on a little bit some of the changes that have been taking place. Sweeping reform. If you're listening, sweeping reform in the city of LA and our social equity programming in the past 2 weeks, we have moved forward, kicked the ball down for cannabis industry to get all the phase 3 retail to be considered for licenses. This is major, and this would not have happened without the leadership of Councilman Herb Wesson out of the 10th City Council District. You just got to give people credit when it's due. He really took the leadership to kick that ball. Now it's up to us now. It's going to be up to us to make sure that these businesses work. And then we also work with him to expand cannabis into L.A. County. He's up for election. So we're going to talk about that another time. But, man, we get him in the county, Whitey, then those unincorporated areas of the county that are right now not that friendly, we'll have a champion on that board of supervisors that can help us. So this is really an exciting day. Just today's show is going to be filled with a lot of hot topics and everything you need to know about cannabis.
Hey, I understand what you're saying, Cheryl, because I can't wait to get my hands on Herb. I'm going to wrap, after I get finished with these 2 projects I got going on, I'm going to wrap something around Herb that the whole city going to see and understand that Herb is the man for the job, because we're going to try to push Herb all the way to the top.
Whitey. We got to do it. We got to do it. $1,500 a head. I need you to pass the cup, Whitey. Tell them we need $1,500 a head. That's the legal limit.
Well, sure,
we'll be setting that out to
I live
everybody.
in South Central LA, baby. I live down in South Central LA where all the big boys don't really play at. So only thing I could do is ask the people to buy a T-shirt or something and give something to his little fund. That's the only thing I can do for Herb, because if I was able, I try to make it my business like it was the 80s and tell everybody, come on, man, kick in $1,500 tip money. But they don't have tip money anymore. They working against this virus. This virus got them down. I just left the restaurant, what you call a restaurant. It's the community center on 52nd and Main, and we was getting the food in order for the pass out for tomorrow. So we trying to help the community the best way we can. We're gonna try to help Herb how we can also, and we're gonna try to push the envelope a little bit and try to maybe give him a free commercial or something like that. Video him with somebody.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But you never know who my voice is reaching.
Yeah.
If you feel compelled, we'll have the information for you. But we totally I get what you're saying. I mean, you keep going, and I'm going to bring the ladies in just 1 minute.
Okay,
So
good enough.
definitely we'll work on come back to that, and then I appreciate that. Let me pull Kelly and Courtney in. So just give me 1 second while I transfer them
Okay.
in.
Right now, we working on Henry Tillman's documentary with Mercer Smith, and we're gonna talk about that later on at the end of the show, maybe like at the 10-minute mark. And we're just trying to do what's good for the neighborhood and make everybody happy. And however we can help, this where we at. We from the Green Believers and Whitey's Enterprise. And if you need some food, go down on 52nd and Main. We help the community best we can. And this cannabis world, we try to do everything possible to make the cannabis world great for us and everybody else. And
Okay.
it's some
Sorry
new
about
rules.
that. I'm getting them on right now. Sorry.
Okay, well take your time and let me know when they come on. So everything what we doing is for the best. And if everybody get the opportunity to come and hang out with us and let us teach you what you don't know, that means you can be successful in the next phase. What's going to go down? So I'm just sitting here looking real hard, paying attention to all the legislations that been put down, and the independent people who drive Lyft and Uber. They trying to take you guys' rights away from you guys. And right today, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to try to let you guys understand. You guys need to join this movement that the Green Believers got going on. And this movement is really for independent workers. And if you understand you're an independent worker, people is trying to take your money out of your pocket right now. So we need you guys to come in, follow us, and get caught up with the legislation. And when you find out what's going on, you're going to want to basically join this team. We need
We're back,
20,000 of
lady.
you guys. You back, Cheryl?
Yeah, we're back. We're back. So I have Kelly and Courtney with me. Kelly Perez and Courtney Mathis. They are the founders and co-founders of Kind Colorado, Cannabis Doing Good, and they've got a brand new Cannabis Impact Fund.
Okay, that's great.
So welcome to the Everything You Need to Know About Cannabis show.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to be here.
Yeah, Whitey. So these ladies are on the move in Colorado. They're from one of the inaugural states. They are part of that cannabis industry community that really launched this whole ecosystem business model that we have. And everybody knows that Colorado led the pack. And just really excited that they recently reached out. They're expanding and doing new and different things. And I just thought it was awesome that we could invite them in to talk to us a little bit about what they're doing in their company. They started a couple years old and just doing some amazing things around equity. And they just launched their impact fund, like I said, and they'll tell us a little bit about that to further our favorite topic, racial justice and cannabis.
Hey.
And just two awesome ladies. I can't wait for you to meet them.
Welcome to the team, ladies.
We
And
can't wait either. I mean, such a head nod to both of you. Much respect, Whitey. Much respect, Cheryl. I mean, Colorado did it first, but not best, right? We did it within the limitations of the demographics and the folks that pushed the policy forward. We're really trying to decrease arrests in Black and Brown communities, but they really didn't have the big vision of what the impact is going to look like in community when the threshold was so hard to enter. So we just so appreciate the work that you all are doing. We're going to learn a lot from you and happy to share what we're learning. Courtney, you want to tell them about the Impact Fund because we are really proud of it.
Yes. The Impact Fund is literally like 10 days old and something that we've been dreaming of for 6+ years and finally have the opportunity to do it. And really, the Impact Fund, it's called the Cannabis Impact Fund, and its primary goal, our mission is to, address and uplift and support the Black and Brown communities, those that have served before us and those that are serving now, to heal our planet and to really provide ongoing resources that will influence social impact in the sector. And so the way we want to do that is ask businesses to pledge 1% of sales or revenue or equity or shares, much like the tech industry or other industries around us. We're asking companies to pledge 1% for justice. And so far we have 16+ companies that have expressed interest and are pledging today, and that's again in 10 days. And we have 4 companies from all across the country that have offered and want to come in as founding members for the fund. So Kelly, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, and we're benefiting the Color of Change, Black Lives Matter, and the Bail Project nationally, and then complete respect to the folks within our industry who've been doing racial justice work forever, who are our colleagues, Hood Incubator, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, and the Minority Cannabis Business Association. So it's the first time cannabis has acted in a large way to, connect with racial justice efforts across the country, and we feel like we have a unique position to kind of bring folks along. As you know, Black and brown cannabis businesses we do this work. We already do this work, but we provide a pathway for others who may not be, as deeply engaged as you. I mean, they aren't as engaged as you all are. We want to provide a means to still contribute to the movement while they learn and become more engaged.
It's so awesome. So these are opportunities for those of you who are cannabis diehard activists. These are opportunities for you to talk to businesses and other independent contractors to let them know that this fund is available and that the Cannabis Impact Fund is helping to further our larger mission of racial justice in cannabis and giving resources to those anchor groups. She named some. We know the Hood Incubator, Lanice and her team are awesome, and we are going to be partnering up even closer now to make sure that we get this message all across the country about corporate diversity and inclusion. And Whitey, some of the things that we do, and I was talking to Kelly and Courtney about that, like how do we use our expertise as African Americans and those populations harmed by the war on drugs to help these companies complete their visioning exercise? Like, what does that look like? And how do we use our expertise to help them recognize where their rate of return is? And, probably some of your supply and pricing techniques are better than any algorithm no, I'm just kidding. But
well,
I think that it's going to be a really fun and interesting project.
Yeah,
so this is awesome.
This is going to be a venture because, I got locked up in Colorado in 1992.
Oh, no, Whitey, we didn't know that.
Yes, I got locked up in Colorado. I went in front of a judge named Judge Nottingham, and he gave me a life sentence in Colorado. But besides that, I understand that each time we venture out here, we try to find some allies to help the ex-offenders do better. And the ex-offenders is looking for some friends to teach them what's really going on in life. So we can take you down a journey and put you in the right place where everybody can be safe, everybody can make money, and everybody can really just understand each other and where we're coming from. Because we're not bad people. We just were people who was out trying to get what everybody else was trying to sell. And we got a couple dollars out of it. And we got penalized for getting a lot of money. And when at the end of the day, they said, nobody killed nobody, but you guys made so much money that we got to take you guys off the streets so you guys could never be back on the streets again. So now the weed industry is in the streets, and we are part of the streets. And we want to help you guys understand what it takes to have a little compassion for the other people so they can make a few dollars as we go on. Because it's necessary for us to help everybody here so they can have an opportunity, a real opportunity to grow a neighborhood as they get wealthy in that neighborhood. And that neighborhood needs a lot of help. And when you look at it, you say, we're not taking from it, we building it. And we want to build something special along on you guys' side and just show you what's good about being black in America. Because we understand the other part of white in America because we've been dealing with it all our lives. And we just want the same privileges that everybody else have. So again, here we are at the table sitting with you saying, we will show you what you need to know and you could show us what you know so we can merge our businesses together and make them great in all areas. Do you go for that, Cheryl?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to say, Whitey, too, just a technical. Could you? I think you might need to speak directly into the mic because we're just having just a little audio. So maybe even Rashid, could you turn it up just a little so we can hear him better? But yes, I totally. Yeah, much better. I can hear you louder and clearer now. You got to speak directly into the mic.
My bad.
Thank you. No, but I appreciate that. We definitely. I think just working with the Colorado group, we can highlight. So our process includes an intake. So anybody who's interested in cannabis, if you've had a cannabis conviction, if you live in one of the high impacted police district zones or zip codes, then you can come by. We're not in our office anymore, but you can call and email, and we can start our intake process. So folks that can benefit from these types of programs and services will be able to get that information to you all so that you're constantly updated, and we can put individuals that are deserving, of some of the opportunities. And we can do the same, our funds that we have put together and the programming and businesses that we have as well will be able to connect that with different things that are going on in Colorado. One of the next, we have another guest that comes on because we do about 15 minutes every call. We bring in a policy issue. And in California, I don't know if you know about the appellation of origin, which is like your packaging brand. There's a dispute here, and I don't know if you all dealt with that in Colorado, but they're requiring that we can't, because our county has not adopted cannabis as legal. All we have is our city. And so there's 88 cities in our county. We have one city out of 88, which means a whole lot of people are left out. And there seems to be some moves at the state level to take the appellation program away from inclusiveness and move it to more exclusive. So if you don't have this little brand on your thing, on your packaging, then it won't be as good for your marketing. So that's an example of the constant vigilance we have to have when it comes to racial profiling and other types of systemic racism that are inherently in place. That people that are actors in these places, I don't even think they understand what they're doing. That's just how deep it is. So, do you all have a packaging program in Colorado that you all know of?
So interesting, Cheryl, because this state, the governor just signed our first piece of legislation that even designates a social equity applicant. So Denver and other communities, really Denver, has been able to slow the pace of creating a program in using lack of definition as one of the reasons. So we are not into the nuance of issues that you all are. That's a very deep issue. And we, too, the state says, yes, it's legal, and then each municipality decides what is legal for them. So our marijuana enforcement division, I have not heard of that particular issue. But when I think about the demographics of who's participating in our industry, I don't see that it's popping up because it's so white. Like, we haven't created pathways yet for it to not be. So,
what's the population breakdown in Denver, just for the record? Just curious.
Oh, Lord, I wish you asked me that ahead of time. So I want to say we've got 3 million folks, but we've had, cannabis was part of, not the reason for, but part of massive gentrification in Denver. So we had the highest, concentration of cannabis businesses in the world because we were first legal businesses or regulated market businesses, no disrespect to the legacy market. But so those companies were densely located in black and brown communities because they were zoned like alcohol. That was a problem with our law. So many of those communities, people, and that's why we started our company. It's because we saw that the community was not going to benefit from this massive cultural sea change. Like, there was no connection between communities and cannabis businesses. There was no policy to require that the community benefits. That's where we came in to make that happen voluntarily, because there's still no policy. But many of those folks impacted never got the opportunity to participate in the industry because businesses that had been operating underground came above ground in communities they'd never been in before. And these are, majority white folks from outskirt communities coming into black and brown communities, and then folks had to move because they couldn't afford it. So we've supported some things like land trusts and, little tiny efforts to try to keep people in place. But we are really retrofitting justice into our industry. And, Courtney and I are two people, and we are, there are a handful of advocates here. We're also running businesses and have children and, feel really called to do the work we do, but it's super hard to impact, all social equity, right? So the impact of the war on drugs, expungement, prison reentry, et cetera, to create pathways for people of color and those impacted to participate in the industry. 3, to benefit the entire community because the whole community pays this price. And that's really where we center our work. But we certainly are in the other place as well, as much as we can be. But Whitey, I have such goosebumps to what you said. Like, we feel so privileged to be able to work in any way, to be a vehicle, because we tell your story without knowing you. And it doesn't feel good. We say those impacted by the war on drugs, those folks who paid the price, because it wasn't just you, right? Your whole family, your whole community. And so that's where we're trying to figure out, how do we create a culture in the larger cannabis industry that is majority white to recognize that dues are owed, that a price has been paid, that repair must happen at every level, policy, business practice, everything. And so Hood Incubator is how we got connected, Cheryl, because they are colleagues and we super respect them. So we're just so pleased to figure out how we can support you and learn from you, and maybe even foresee some of the challenges that we are going to run into because you're already there.
Yes, well, every time me and Cheryl been having this conversations go to one thing: how do people want to treat the people who've been away? Because a whole lot of people want to be greedy right now, and they don't want to give back. Like when I first went down to Colorado in 2016.
You speaking the mic?
Yes, I'm in the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Can you cut that up?
Okay.
So
okay.
When I went down to Colorado in 2016, I went down on Colfax, and it was this one black-owned store down there. And when I went on Colorado Boulevard, it was not a black-owned store. And I was asking them, when the black people in the neighborhood going to have an opportunity to have a store? And then I went down to the 5 Points. And the 5 Points in 1992 to 1999, it was basically a whole black neighborhood. And when I got there, it's changed from what it used to be to something different. And today, when I called some of my friends in Colorado, they said, the 5 Points have changed to like Inglewood. I said, yeah, I liked it Inglewood because it was so mixed and everybody talked with everybody. But the only part I want to get back to is that the black communities need an opportunity to grow with the rest of the communities. And if they can't grow with the rest of the communities, everything they did was in vain. Everything they worked for was for nothing, because now everybody else is benefiting from what they went to prisons for. So this is the conversation that I really want to have with the rest of the world. Like, you just cannot turn us out and don't let us play in the game, because that's not fair. And this the only part we want. We just want to be able to play in the game with the rest of the people.
Whitey, Spirit has certainly brought us all together. I live at Colorado Boulevard in Colfax.
Okay.
I live 6 minutes from 5 Points. So we hear you so loud and clear. This industry was built on the backs of black and brown and sick people. We say that constantly. Mm-hmm. And you're right. We've got to figure out how to retrofit, how to customize, how to recognize that a price has been paid for the privilege that we get to be in this space, and it was lives. So it's not giving back. It's honoring where we came from.
Yes.
And making sure that everybody in it recognizes that that's our burden of responsibility and our privilege to do, because we get to craft this industry. Let it not be like every other extractive economic industry in the country.
Yes.
Right, and the pieces where we get to address the formal. First, there has to be a recognition that there's been a miseducation amongst white people. And so that's how one way that we approach it is that we tell our story that there's been a miseducation. So many of the things that white people have been told about African Americans, and especially African Americans demographics that were harmed by the war on drugs are not truthful things. And we explained to them the key soundbite is there was emancipation for us, which simply means that our slave masters no longer had a legal responsibility to provide anything. So it's been such a compounded impact. There was an emancipation. However, we didn't get freedom. White folks got freedom, which is a completely different privilege, if you will. But what blacks have had and what we experienced even up until today is a very important distinction that requires the awakening. That's a way to describe it. Like, you have to be really conscious and cognizant when you talk about this, because there's been a miseducation about this difference between emancipation and freedom. So what Whitey's team and the stories that they will tell that will help us to get there are these stories about, the difference between the emancipation and the freedom and what we've had to fight for, and then what is corporate America responsible for. So we'll put those scenarios on the table because it's not an exact science. It's going as we train and prepare places like Colorado to embrace social equity. That's where I think we're gonna create this trajectory, if you will, for change, and corporations really stepping up and putting sustainable solutions in place versus just a whole lot of white guilt, because white guilt can be healed.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
hey,
and that's not what we're really after. We're not after white guilt per se.
We are really not at no guilt at all. But I say this and mean this from the bottom of my heart: the ex-offenders, the ACT Network, we are putting together a movement to help all the people who is re-entering back from jail together. And we just ask people to donate to our cause, because this is what we're trying to build as we go along. Because we want everybody to understand and acknowledge that a whole lot of black people went to jail for no reason. And we just asking them just to give a little bit to show us that all of us is on the same page, and you want to help the community out. There ain't no such thing of like everybody keep on labeling it like those people ain't no good. But we are good. We are good people. And we could sit at the table and have a conversation with anybody on any standards. And at the end of the day, the only thing we asking you, let us teach you while you teach us. And the community will be a better community. And everybody will feel each other. And it'd be like, wow, you guys is in a good place. And Cheryl is one of those persons have took me under her wing and put me in a better place, because I run a production company and a whole lot of other things. And right now, the only thing we asking is come and join us and let us join you. Let us merge our forces together so we can keep you guys safe out here in these streets, and you guys can continue to make the money that you guys make. Just let us make the money on the side of you, and everything will pan out just fine. This is the only thing we ask in the black community.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's been exciting. I'm going to bring Sarah in because it's her time. We're almost close to the policy talk, policy 15. But Whitey, could you and Kelly continue to just kind of keep? Okay. I love where you're heading on this about the relationships and having this key synergy already built in between Los Angeles.
But me and Kelly live down the street
Colorado.
from each other. I stayed on 14th and Cook.
I didn't hear you. What did you say, Whitey?
I stayed on 14th and Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we stayed down the street from each other, believe it or not, when I was in Colorado.
No, I mean, I walk past your house basically pretty much every day when I'm close to home.
So I'm happy.
So Courtney's on the line too, and what I would say is something we're really proud of is that we think that, as you're talking about like corporate America, I don't know about corporate America. I don't even really know about cannabis corporate America, but because we're in Colorado and there's so many connections between so many cannabis companies that have a touch point in Colorado, we really do think that there's some companies that are ready for this.
Okay.
They are talking to us because we've had relationships for 5 years or so, and they're asking for this kind of help. They may not know exactly how deep they're asking, right? Courtney, would you agree? But there's a flavor for it, and then maybe we can help inform corporate America. there's an appetite for it, right, Courtney?
Where's Courtney at? Courtney.
Oh, we might have lost her. Sorry, but I think she'd say there's an appetite for it. So,
sorry, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. No, but please go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Please
no.
Ahead.
Don't you think there's an appetite? I mean, our cannabis companies are coming to us for help in this area. I don't think they know the extent of what they're asking for. We're going to have to prepare them and educate them. But Whitey's real clear, you know. But there does seem to be an appetite.
Yeah, I think to Cheryl's point, there's just so much misinformation and miseducation that occurred across like a vast majority of the white population, and white business owners in cannabis are no exception to that rule. And so when they say they want to embark on anti-bias training or undo racism in their workplace or in the sector or in their personal life, I think that there is an openness and a willingness, unlike we've seen certainly in the last decade or last 50 decades, to do that. But I think that there's going to be a massive learning curve for those companies because they don't really fundamentally understand the work that it's going to take at all levels of their personal and professional lives to undo a lot of the racist ideology and beliefs and systems that they continue to uphold.
Well,
that's going to be exciting. I have Sarah on the line, Americans for Safe Access, Los Angeles, and Kelly. You guys should know, you and Courtney should know that Sarah and her organization are one of the leading patient advocacy groups. And if you haven't already, definitely a group that I suggest we're going to be bringing them in this conversation in Colorado as you guys start on your social equity programming. And I wanted to bring her in. I thought she represented as leading this packaging bill that I was talking to you guys. It's a proposal for social for cultivators, and it could have a negative impact. So, Sarah, welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
And meet Kelly and Courtney. They're from Colorado, and they work in Kind, Colorado, and Cannabis for Good. They've got a fund, but their city, as we all know, is at the very beginning of their social equity. They're just getting that kicked off. So we're talking about doing anti-bias and racist training. But I wanted you, Sarah, to share what's happening in California around Senate Bill 67 and how this packaging marketing tool, needs to be watched by cities like Denver that's just getting started, and how it can get in the way of social equity moving forward. So what is SB 67, Sarah?
SB 67 is a successor in interest to a bill that was introduced last year and died in the California legislature. And what it does is exclude all social equity cultivators, wherever they may be in the state of California, if they cannot grow outdoors in full light with no light deprivation. Now, you and I know that in the city of Los Angeles, we grow some of the best marijuana in the world because, of course, we're going to say that. I think it's true. And we're, by law, required to grow indoors. So if this piece of legislation goes through, all of our cultivators, and remember, every cultivator in this city that has a city license is a social equity Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, because that's how we set up the non-retail, right? That's why they got to go first. And they are, like all cultivators that cultivate in a city, but especially in Los Angeles, we're completely surrounded by huge grows. Until January of this year, Santa Barbara had more licenses than Humboldt. Mm-hmm. You've got Desert Hot Springs, Coachella, name it, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to really protect our cultivators and give them every opportunity to participate in state agricultural programs. And where this idea comes from is that an appellation of origin status being designated that way by Cal Cannabis means that you get to put that on your label. You can say, proudly grown, Blue Dream, proudly grown in Weed, California. And that is a very helpful marketing tool and packaging tool because it tells consumers who love your product and buy it all the time that they're getting the real deal. And in Northern California, in the Emerald Triangle, for years they've struggled because people would grow skanky weed in a grow house in Petaluma and then slap packaging on it that said, product of the Emerald Triangle, organically grown in full sun. You know, right?
Wow,
right?
gotcha. Oh, no.
Right? So the farmers in the north, when the whole Appalachians program came up, wanted it tailored very, very narrowly so that they would have protections from this kind of fraud. Well, if you say that you can only have an appellations of origin if you grow on native land in open sunlight with no light depth using native soil and native water, you pretty much cut out 80% of the cultivators in the state of California, and you certainly cut out any social equity cultivator who, through law or practice, is forced indoors, right? Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is we want to amend this bill so we keep the good part, and the good part is that we already have a county of origin label on the books. You can say proudly grown in Los Angeles County. Unfortunately, if you do that, it sounds like you're doing something wrong because all cultivation is banned in the county, right? It's allowed in the city only. So what we want to do is we want a city of origin designation, which is in the bill, and that's the good part, and that will allow all of our cultivators to say that it was grown in the city of Los Angeles using specialized processes, and that's what makes it so special. And I guess I know that because I sat on the board of directors of a retailer for 3 years back in the day, that cannabis in the city of Los Angeles was to a huge extent grown by blacks, Hispanics, Asians. There were a couple women that we had as patient providers, but if you don't allow us to have an appellation of origin for the city of Los Angeles, we're going to injure our social equity cultivators, and that can't happen because they already have so many burdens related to taxation, regulation, and competition. And that competition is not so much from the illegal market, as you might think, but from all of these jurisdictions surrounding Los Angeles that have licensed cultivation. So what we're going to do is the Southern California Coalition is going to write a very strong letter to McGuire. Okay. Adam is totally down for this. And we have a little time because the legislature is closed down due to COVID. And we're going to say to them, you know, if you go through with this language, you're going to shut out every social equity cultivator in the state who has, through no fault of his own or her own, to grow indoors. And you're going to make it impossible for any cultivator in the city of Los Angeles to ever have an appellation of origin. And we do have specialized growing methods that would qualify us for an appellation. For instance, you got your veganics, which is marijuana grown with no animal byproducts. Mm-hmm. Those strains have won 23 awards for excellence in cannabis cups. Should our people be shut out like that? I don't think so. And I have had this conversation with the far north for a couple of years now, and even though the proposed regulations for appellations of origin would allow them to submit for an appellation of origin for marijuana grown in full sunlight, native land, native water, full sunlight, they can absolutely apply and get that kind of appellation of origin. They want to take it further and make that the standard for everyone, and you just can't do it. It's so exclusionary that it's easily identifiable as way too exclusive to promote any kind of buy-in to the appellation program. And the program is important for marketing, important for you when you don't have a patent, because you can go into court and defend your appellation if people are, slapping your appellation on their packaging. And it's a powerful tool for consumers because, of course, many consumers are patients, and they want the same good quality, the same type of cannabis every time because that's what makes them feel better. It helps with their symptoms. So we'll send you a copy of the letter when I've got it done, and I'll also send you the very stern letter that we originally wrote to Richard Parrott, who's head of Cal Cannabis, explaining why they could not be so exclusionary. And when they put out the ordinance, I was just thrilled because they'd done what we asked them to do, which was decide appellations on a case-by-case basis and not have any overriding requirements that would only benefit a very few people functioning on, by the way, on land they mostly own, right? We don't get that kind of treat, right? We eat the rent. So that's basically the appellations of origin story behind SB 67. I'm hopeful. I sent to you to tell you about it. I also sent it to everybody I knew of that was active in social equity in and around Los Angeles. I could not identify any groups that were specifically organized to protect the rights and remedies of social equity cultivators. And this is very dear to my heart because the old Cultivators Alliance folded into the SCC. We have a whole clutch of social equity cultivators. I know many of them for many, many years. They were given either the choice, the Tier 3s have the choice to do a in lieu of fee or form a company. So that either way, and often the Tier 1 and Tier 2s were people that these cultivators had known for years, right? So there's like open sourcing where they really are helping them with things like how do you handle your taxes. Taxes are outrageous, $9.65 an ounce for flower for cultivators, right off the top. How do you protect your proprietary strains and your proprietary growing so that others don't profit by ripping you off on that? It's been okay. But I would say to anybody in an area that's just setting up social equity, create a safe space for your cultivators because without them, there's no retail, there's no manufacturing, there's no distribution. Mm-hmm. Treat them special because they are special. Mm-hmm. And you know this because for years, I'm sure you've met people of color who were growing amazing cannabis, right? So,
Sarah, we're in Colorado, right?
Right. Do you have a social equity program for your cultivators?
No, we were literally at the very beginning of social equity.
We're going to help her, Sarah. That's why I wanted us to, we're going to help them.
I have to have a disclaimer because I'm honestly not at all of the tables anymore because after 5 years of fighting with the mayor's office, I have, graciously bowed to those who want to continue. We just moved some state policy to create the definition for social equity, and also I didn't leave that. We've been at the head for a while, we've been at the beginning for a while, but you can't sustain the work forever. So all of the things that you're saying are incredibly important, and we have such respect for Americans with Safe Access. And in fact, Melanie Rose Rogers is on our board We really appreciate the work that you all do. I just wonder, my policy mind is just wondering, and if this is too simple, Sarah, tell me, but isn't it possible to have a carve-out in the Appalachian origin that is for social equity applicants that gives them, like, OG status? Because obviously they can't fit all those same parameters because the urban environment is very different from the Emerald Triangle. I mean, I've found, more success with options for the workaround that still gets what they would like to, but then also brings in, people of color, the OGs, to benefit from the ground that they've laid. Has that been already discussed, or sorry, I'm so new?
No, it's okay. The way we made sure that the cultivators were at the table was we in LA, we had the old collective system where you had patient providers who grew for the collectives. That went on way longer here than anywhere else, right? Because the city didn't want to issue licenses. They wanted to do limited immunity. Mm-hmm. So the way we made sure the OGs got the licenses was we had a piece that said you have to be able to prove that you were part of one of the old collectives, and you could go. I think the cutoff was like something like 2000. I can't remember, like 2017. But all of these
it was
social
2016, Sarah. Remember?
Yeah, 2016.
2016.
So if you could show that you had grown for these collectives, that was your ticket in. Now, I would also say that I hope you do try a carve-out or a workaround, because one of the most disappointing moments for me was I knew damn well that there were hundreds of these patient providers, these cultivators, but many times the dispensary had changed hands, and in 2014 there was a big handover to management companies and changes in ownership, and those people, of course, didn't know the same group of patient providers, mm-hmm. so they weren't willing to vouch for them. And I got to tell you, of all the things that cheesed me off and made me want to just go rattle some cages, that's it. Because nobody gets rich selling medical marijuana to a dispensary, okay? You make a living, mm-hmm. but you don't get rich because you've got some fundamental stuff going on that limits your ability to grow as a company. Mm-hmm. So if you can get a workaround, man, that would be great. And send me the language. We'll work on it. We'll ask for it here.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to visualize your mark, like you were saying, sun-grown. Like, couldn't there be some addition to that mark that represented the original collective?
Well, the appellations of origin designation is a combination of where you grow and how you grow in that location. So there's two pieces to it. One, a designation that it was grown, say, in Weed, California, and then the appellation for it is that you grow in a specialized way in that area. Mm-hmm. And in the old days, in France, where this originated, it wasn't meant to make you special. It was meant to prevent you from fraud. It's a very complex series of criteria, right? Mm-hmm. So that if you grew real champagne grapes and made real champagne, some clown in Switzerland couldn't claim that he was making champagne too, right? Well, that kind of fell by the wayside with patents, international agreements for patents, trademarks, and copyrights. All of these things were unknown. So when farmers in the far north seized upon terroir, which is a component of how you grow, where you grow, it got very exclusionary very fast. And because they've been growing in this method, in this way for generations, they don't really it's hard for them to imagine that you could grow indoors and have a specialized growing system that was just as unique and special as however you're interacting with the land you own. And one of the things I did was I sent to Richard Parrott, I said, okay, appellation of origin for indoor grow. Here's how it goes. This is what you would do. And I think that helped a little bit. It wasn't my best work, but I was...
We have 3 minutes, ladies. We're at the very top of the hour. I just want to say that as we wrap up, because we're going to go all the way to the end, I can tell. We've got to get these two back to the table.
Yes, we do.
So I wondered how people should get involved to help Sarah's case, because that kind of statewide policy clearly would be incredibly damaging, especially for in LA.
At the FCC, we were founded by two of the California Minority Alliance founders. And we also have ongoing relationships with a great many people, including Cheryl. And we circulate everything. We will send out our letter. We will send out an explanation, whatever it takes. And anybody who's interested in writing a letter to McGuire can do so, and hopefully if the stakeholders, FCC is a stakeholder because we have members who are social equity cultivators, but if enough stakeholders weigh in, McGuire is going to realize that this is...
Cheryl, I hate to tell you, this is the end of my show, Cheryl.
Everybody. I know. Thank you, Whitey. We love you.
I love you,
We want
too.
to thank our guests today. We'll get the information out of Senator McGuire to all of our listeners. We'll blast it out and send it to our guests. And I just want to thank our guests today, the wonderful, our dear ally and friend, Sarah from Americans for Safe Access, Kelly Perez, and Courtney Mathis with Kind, Colorado, and Cannabis Doing Good. We doing good, y'all.
Hey.
Every week you can check us out.
Hey,
Everything
Kelly,
you
give
need
us a
to
call
know about
now.
Cannabis.
Kelly, give us a
Everything.
call.
We'll send you guys information.
Whatever you guys need from the
We'll
Green
all talk
Believers,
real soon.
whatever you guys need
So
from the Green
grateful for
Believers,
y'all.
make
Thank
sure
you
you
so
call
much.
Cheryl, and we will make it our business to get with you guys and give you guys all the information that we can give you and make you guys' business great. Please, thank you for everything you did, and we giving a shout out tonight to Ira and Alex for coming down there and get an opportunity to come on. But next week they will be here, and you guys have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hey, y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you. Cannabis doing good. Cannabis doing good.